Welcome to WINstorm 4.4. This short video covers changes to this version of the wizard. To begin with, you might notice some visual changes. For instance, our top bar has changed. They look more like buttons now than the previous version. And there's also an icon or an avatar on the far right. Within Select a Project, you'll see there's two new tabs, Active and Archive. Everything you had before will still be under Active, but you have the choice now of archiving things, just burying them under this other tab. To do that, you would go into the Configurator and go to the final step, the Other step, where at the bottom you'll see that you have the ability to archive, and you also have the ability to permanently delete it. The configurator now has the ability to clone styles and settings from other projects. So if you create a new project, you can simply go and pick a different project that you want to clone from. And you don't have to take everything. You can just take the style guide and use those colors differently, or you can take the applied colors or just the settings, for instance, your metadata. Under Select a WINstorm now, you'll see that there's this orange item, which is our default, the default for this particular project. So when I hit create, it's going to clone that item, its sections, the titles, the contents, everything. And you may want to change it to a different one by simply clicking one and hitting set as default. It will warn you that everyone else is now going to use this, and it's very important to realize that the email that is within that default is what is used by send to a friend. So when someone's looking at the front end and they click send to a friend, that's the email component that they'll be receiving, the friend will receive. As well, this button is only available to administrators. It's not available to everybody since it is so important. WINstorms now have a lock system. So when you click on something and you go into edit or deliver, what we consider an editing step, it is locked so no one else can use it. It won't be accessible, and it'll actually show a little lock icon. The point of this is especially for shared items so that two people aren't working on the same thing at the same time. And that's really just to avoid a situation where one person's changes are overwritten by the other person. When you finish editing, by which I mean you come back to Select a WINstorm project, basically you leave these two steps, or you log out, it will immediately unlock. If you forget to use one of the proper exiting methods, like if you go change the URL or you close the tab, it will remain locked for another minute, at which point that lock will expire. In other words, we detect that you're not using it anymore, and it will become unlocked to other people. I'm going to move on to the editor, and in here there's only a few changes that I'm going to point out. There is an anchor system, and this allows you to place links within the text. So for example, I've pasted a bunch of text in there, come down to the bottom, and let's say I want to have a link that jumps down to this sentence. I can create an anchor, which is sort of like a placeholder, like a bookmark within this page, and I can call it whatever I want, so I'll just call it example. And now it gives this little anchor icon, which is not going to be visible to people. It just lets you know where it is. And I can say, for example, let's have a link on that. And you're going to create a link, but instead of a URL, you're going to use an anchor, one of the ones you've created, which it'll list for you and keep track of. And in this case, I only had the one example. And so now, if I were to save this and view it, just so you can see what I'm talking about, and I should have changed my link to white, I guess, for this design. You can see there's a link here, and I click it, and it just jumps down. So it can't go, I can't scroll below this, but otherwise, if I had made it jump to here, this would be at the top of the screen. So it's trying to put this anchor, which is right there, at the top of the screen, but again, that's as far as it can scroll. So that's how anchors work, and they can be useful if you have a lot of text. In addition, we have tables. For example, I will put a table in here, and you can stretch it out and things like that. You can, for example, change the entire table background color. This is going to populate with the colors you put in your configurator. So I could do that, and then I could, for example, just change this whole row. So you can click on that and go to row properties, and we can change that to have a different background color. Let's say this one. This is going to look really good. And then I could, for example, just change this individual cell by going to cell properties. And again, I'm going to advanced, and I'm picking background color, and let's just make that one gray. So there you go. And this works in the email body as well. Attachments, you'll see, are gone, and that's because we've merged them into the media library. So all of your existing attachments, which didn't have folders, are now inside of media library under a folder called attachments. So everyone should probably see if this folder, attachments. And that will probably only have attachments in it since it was empty to begin with. It is important to note that there are these icons just like before, and we've now added the attachments one to the right. So if you wanted to just get to those, you could uncheck them all and then hit refresh. So that wasn't required before, but it's to make things more efficient. So to make this not refresh after each click, you just have to click refresh now. I'm going to jump back and point out how now the galleries on the side here include an attachment gallery, and they have customizable titles. So you can click on these and they'll jump directly to that gallery. So you see we're on audio, and you can just call this whatever you want now. So we'll call this sounds, for example. And now you'll see that this is sounds out here. So yeah, they cannot be reordered. They always show up at the bottom. They're special, but you can change the titles now. The search here now also has a settings thing, which allows you to select what you want to search for. And you can click it again to close it if you want. Lastly, if I go to an image, edit this item, and you'll see now there's the ability to rotate in a clockwise direction on increments of 90 degrees. So that's about it for the edited media changes. Under delivery, the idea now is you don't need to have a link down here. We're not going to require this. It will warn you that you haven't used it. But you can just have this be a newsletter tool with no links, or you can have a link here and a link here and a link here, and they all go to the same WINstorm. Here is a link to the WINstorm, and I butchered that. And I can just maybe just take that, link it, and you don't have to choose the link. You'll notice it just creates it right away. So that now will be a link to the WINstorm. If you have 50 email recipients, they'll all get a special link by using this tool. So that is really about it in this version. Hopefully the workflow and everything is streamlined to be a little better. The help and support section down here has been completely rebuilt. It has the ability to search. So if you were like, how did that anchor thing work again? You can type for anchors and you will find information on how to do anchors. There's quite a lot of information. The entire manual has been basically broken down into this. So if you want to learn about galleries, here's how you add and edit. This allows you just to jump down to that. Again, those are anchors on this page, so that's an anchor to here. So there's a lot of stuff, and I very much encourage you to peruse the help section. At the very bottom here, there is a support form. This will create a ticket that will be automatically delivered to the appropriate support members at WINstorm, and you will get a ticket confirming that. So please enjoy the new version.